Five Chickens Productions presents 365 Days of Jung with Dr. J. Mark Dyke.
Today is day 14 of 365 Days of Jung. The topic is envy as a symptom of the unlived life. Now, to understand envy, in my opinion, we have to go back to understanding the difference between low-grade sulfur and high-grade sulfur. Low-grade sulfur are all the distractions, the immediate time-filling, energy zapping, basically. Watching television, Facebook, Twitter, whatever these millions of things are that essentially are distractions. And those are low-grade sulfur, and they're fine. High-grade sulfur are big wants. I want to be a medical doctor. I want to be a ballerina. I want to be a painter. I want to be a banker. I want to be... So these big wants, if we truly feel them, they're ours. We want them. Those big wants create an adventure. They create the need to go through all kinds of dragons that, so dragons might be fears or even addictions that we would have to go through and give up in order to stay, to continue with our adventure. These big wants mean we have to learn skills. Maybe we have to learn how to write better, or how to think better, or how to paint better, or learn math, or whatever. So these big wants create a lot of necessity to develop. Now, these big wants, who knows really where they come from? Maybe they come from our parents, maybe they come from society, but I think that they emerge from our psyche. These big wants, if they are authentically ours, then they emerge from our psyche. Now, these big wants can be lived out by others for us in some strange way. Let me give you an example. My father wanted to be an international businessman. He gave that up because my mother didn't want to live in Brazil. She'd become pregnant. She didn't trust the doctors. He gave that up. So at a certain point in my life, I was 23, 24, I had this overwhelming desire to learn Spanish and go to Mexico. And so I did that, and he visited and said basically, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to do. And when I finished my language degree, the whole desire to learn languages just evaporated, which is interesting. I think, so it's a leap of faith perhaps, but in my opinion, I was living out his unlived life. Now, in my own life, I wanted to be a Zen monk. And so the people I felt, and at some point, basically, I loved so much about Zen, being a Zen monk, except there were definitely a lot of obstacles I was unwilling to go through. I was unwilling to go through the physical pain of sitting 20 hours a day, and I was unwilling to go through the stupidity of some of the Zen monks that I worked with and their trips, and ultimately I never found a Zen master that I really felt connected to in any kind of personal way. So those are really just obstacles. They could be considered excuses, but they're really just obstacles. I could have gotten through them. But what had happened instead was I pretty much gave up. And I saw Jungian psychology being so much more helpful, I went towards that. Now, that didn't relieve me of feeling like I was a failure at Zen. What's interesting to me is that three of the people I feel most inferior around are Zen monks. And so I envy them. There's an actual feeling of envy. I envy that they did this. They they managed to go through all these obstacles. They managed to become Zen monks, and they might quit tomorrow being Zen monks. It wouldn't matter. They had gone. They took that adventure. They completed it, and then they're on to another adventure based on having achieved being a Zen monk. Okay, so when I failed my big want of being a Zen monk, and they succeeded, for a long time I felt inferior around them. Still feel somewhat inferior around them. And that is actually envy. Now, the way I understand it is they are living my unlived life, and they are doing it. And so I can turn envy into a kind of a joy by a few simple steps, which I've done. One, I recognize that they're actually living out my unlived life also. They have their wants, but they're also carrying mine. And instead of being envious of that, I've been thanking them. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for carrying that for me. Thank you for, I honor you. And it's a very strange feeling because it moves from this kind of yucky, envious, who do they think they are, to, wow, thank you for doing that. Now, what goes along with that is, okay, so now I'm thanking them and I'm actually feeling some happiness about what they're doing, and gratitude and honoring and admiration, which feels better than envy. So then I start to ask myself, how do I retrieve some of that unlived life? How do I take back some of that? And so, for example, here's my failed adventure of becoming a Zen monk, and here's several people around me who are living it out. How do I take that back? I don't know how that's going to affect them, but I can't imagine it being anything but positive. So how do I take it back? So I think, okay, so I'm still not willing to sit for 20 hours a day. I'm still not ready to commit to some Zen rigmarole. And so, what am I willing to do? And that makes me think about a much more mindful lifestyle. And the mindful lifestyle is essentially saying, okay, what if I don't watch TV very much? What if I stop watching hours of CNN? You know, what if I spend so much more time just sitting quietly, doing nothing, but listening to the sound of the birds and listening to, the cats meow and playing with the kittens and spending time just talking with my wife or sitting with my wife. So all of these sort of things of not trying to distract myself, but allowing myself to just enjoy whatever's happening. That sounds sort of good. And so, along with the simple practice of recognizing that these Zen monks are carrying this unlived life for me, and thanking them for it, and honoring them, and then beginning to take back some of the kind of a Zen mindful lifestyle that I can incorporate and I want to incorporate. So I've been doing that for 4 or 5 days, and it feels great. In summary, I would like to walk through some simple steps to help you turn envy into meaning and take back some of your unlived life. Step 1. Ask yourself if some of the people you feel inferior to are living the adventure you gave up on. For example, several people I feel inferior to became Zen monks. Recognize that they are carrying some of your unlived life, i.e., dreams, goals, big wants, and adventures. Thank them for carrying your unlived life. Honor them for it. Imagine the essential parts of your big want and determine which part you can and want to live. For example, I can reduce watching TV by 90%, wash dishes by hand, limit eating out to once a week. Once you have accepted the challenge and are heading toward the fulfillment of your adventure, at some point you will have lived enough of your big want, your adventure, to merit an outward symbol. Boy Scouts earn badges, and after proof that he cared about others, the Tin Man received a heart. AA people earn sobriety coins. Decide an appropriate symbol for your adventure and award it to yourself when you feel you have earned it. You do not need someone else to validate you. After 4 weeks, I will award myself with a kessa that looks like this.